So welcome to another exploration in our Earth Nouveau hub. And today we've got a lovely group, and together we're gonna, explore psychic locomotion. And I'm just thinking, as I found that title, I was wondering if that could be the first or one of the discussions talking about spiritual technology. Because since we've been, since I've come back from this Turkey trip, technology has been really coming up for me, talking about technology. And then really the realization that we're obviously not necessarily talking about the technology the way we define it here, like superb little machineries and flying saucers and that kind of thing, but we're actually talking about spiritual technology, because that is the technology that, as far as I'm concerned, with our recent explorations in our Turkey group, we sort of get to, there was whoever was living there at the time and running the gatherings there, the show there, they were using spiritual technology. So that's just on the side. And that's a huge topic, which would be nice to really go a bit more into detail. And then let's actually kick it off with our psychic locomotion, which, as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to put into a context of talking about the observer technology, the entangled and the unentangled observer technology. That is an innate consciousness technology within our DNA. We are entangled and unentangled observer. And we in this group, having worked with Andrew Bartzis for long enough now, we're all sort of familiar with that. And I just want to throw in, so in order to kick it off, and then obviously that leads us into implicate, explicate, or what David Bohm and lots of you guys have done, basic stuff in quantum physics. But then, of course, as we always do, we're taking this and putting it into a pragmatic and very practical way. What does it actually mean? It's always good to have this higher faculty looking at it from an intellectual perspective. And then we're going to say, okay, so what are we going to do with this, right? Because what's the point of keeping it up there in the head if we're not making proper use of it? So having said all that, is there anything that pops up for you guys right away before we take it any further?
Well, I mean, to me, anytime you talk about spiritual technology, I think about the DNA code. Mm-hmm. So, as a human, we have capabilities in our physical bodies which are unrealized. And I've been listening to this lady called Ashiana Dean, who talks about the original encoding and of the DNA skin suit and the way that it's been, corrupted down through the teachings and years. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a lot for me is coming through right now, and I don't even know quite where to place it. But I do know what I always see when I work on people is the DNA code. And I see where the limitations are, where the closures or the non-functioning is, and whether people have, the capability of, we all, in a human skin suit, we all have the capability of the 24-strand DNA, unless you have special coatings in your DNA lineage, then sometimes it's 48-strand, but really we only have, maybe 4 or 5 or sometimes 6 activated. So, that spiritual technology, it seems like there's a lot of wiggle room, right? A lot of growth that we can experience there. And, who knows what capabilities and abilities we can open up to, right? It seems like a very there's a depth and a breadth of possibilities and understandings that we don't even know that there's that surface there. We're not even scratching that yet as humans now.
Yeah. So what you're actually saying in terms of soul codes, we can actually say they open up a certain perspective for us, a certain perspective and a certain perception. And that's what really awareness is all about. And the more of those codes that we have collected all over the lifetimes by living in different worlds and obviously being an amalgamation of different species and all of that, we have access to all those different codes. And because I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, because of this world changing its energetic makeup and the frequency is getting higher or lighter, whatever, density is getting less, we are starting to really switch on. And I think, what we're seeing at the moment, those UFO discussions, they're popping up everywhere. And all of a sudden, the governments are being put in a certain pressure cooker, why the hell did you not tell us all about that, right? So there is an element this has been going on for years. We've known that, we had UFOs here in the 60s and everything, and before, and sorry, I just let somebody in. But all of a sudden, it's like the perception of the people, the soul codes are switching on, saying, hey, it's time to divulge that information to us.
Yeah, it's like the capabilities. It's almost like Earth's consciousness is allowing the space for that.
Correct. Exactly. Now, I did look up technical and technology in the Oxford Dictionary of World History. And it's quite funny because it's this is based on technique dating from the same period, first used as an adjective, meaning to do with art or an art. So it's really interesting how technology is being associated with art. And it comes from Latin technicus, from Greek technikos, with art, technology, from the same period, the Greek systematic treatment from art, craft. So it's connected to that, to art. How cool is that?
Well, this is where the word artisan comes from, and that is why it's still called technical and vocational training in education.
Artisan?
Because that's how you become an artisan, from the technical and vocational training, and then art, and then you become an artisan, which is an art. Now we make this change between, what is art, what is art now for us in the recent years becomes more this, not recent years, but becomes a different thing than craft and handcraft and, the laborer that is doing the job. I think there has been a split in what has become an artisan formerly and nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what we're going to do today, we're going to consider ourselves all artisans, because that's who we are. And we're going to use the art of choosing the psychic locomotion. Because what does locomotion mean? It means that we can choose to move from one place to another. And as a multidimensional organism that we actually are, we can be in not just one place, but in many places at the same time. Now, the focus as the avatar that we are is now leading us into the entangled observer. Are we entangled when we are observing in a certain place, or are we unentangled? So are we in the explicate order, which is the entangled one, or the implicate order? Now, a very simple example for that, to get a just a practical example for that, and this is what we, I think, also put into the Galactic Historian book at the time, was saying, think of you being at the party, and you're enjoying the party, you're in the moment, you're having fun with your friends, you're having a drink, you are entangled. You're right there in the moment. You are in the explicate order. Now, as you leave the party and you think back on it, you're going into the implicate order. And you are conjuring up the memories of what happened, you know, and you're still coloring in what happened at the party. So you're still changing
Interesting.
what happened at the party as an in the implicate order, right? Now, and this is why it is so important, and that is something that I think we really try to bring forth, is that the entangled and unentangled observer is not really properly looked at in the implicate and the explicate order. Because in the implicate order, you can still maintain, you can still look at what happened, and you do not have to change it, even if you just make shit up, yeah? Depending on the enthusiastic, you know, inspired action that you put into, you don't have to make a change just by looking into it. You can just go there and see, okay, this is what the party was all about. You remain your sacred, neutral, unentangled observer status, right? Whereas when you are in the entangled and explicate order, you are creating, right? Now, this is a technology, a spiritual technology that we humans have, because we have a retrospective personality, and that's what obviously distinguishes us from an animal. We have a contemplative and reflective personality, consciousness. Now, what does that mean now? Psychic locomotion. We can actually go from a healing perspective now. Think of a healing perspective, yeah? And this is what healing is really all about. When we go back to a place where we had drama, trauma, hurt, sadness, and whatever, we can go there as an unentangled observer and just observe what's going on. But we can also create changes in that particular setting. And this is what healing is actually all about. When we go back, remember, you go back on your timeline and you drop into that traumatic situation, and you get the learnings and you have your aha moments, you know, this is when you create changes. And this is why it is quite important, as far as I'm concerned, to appreciate and understand that psychic technology, that spiritual technology that we all have, because how many times do we go somewhere without distinguishing the entangled and unentangled observer, and actually create more drama in situations that are actually necessary?
As you're talking about this, the unentangled, it's interesting because it seems to be that there's not just the entangled and unentangled observer, that there's a state somewhere in between, right? Because when you're going back on your timeline and reviewing, or maybe doing the healing, so maybe the review is the unentangled observer, but when you're engaging with that young you're not really in it, but you're not in it either, right? So there's sort of like that state between the observation and the entanglement.
Well, this
You
is
can have the objectivity, but you're still engaging with the energy.
The interesting thing with that is, by acknowledging our observer technology, our, you know, spiritual technology along those lines, we literally can, as time travelers, who we are, we can literally make changes. Now, we can, You're absolutely right. So the reviewing of everything is the pure unentangled observation. And even if there's shit going on, you don't have to get involved. You can just observe it. And this is like, you know, it's not like, oh, I'm reading something negative. Now my focus is on the negative. Now I'm creating it. No, it's not that. It's not like that. You can sacred neutrally observe something that is really fucked up, and yet you're not going to go out there and create it. That's the will. We are free will beings. And the difference by doing that is really acknowledging our investment in something. How much energy are we adding? And this is why we're always talking about, you know, there is a lot of stuff going on. Can you remain without prejudice? Can you stay out of judgment? Can you just be in allowance of what's going on? You don't have to you don't have to agree with it, but as a psychic locomotion master, you need when to move on, when to stay neutral, and when it's actually a contribution for you to get entangled, add some of your energy, and create a change. And most of the time, that will only be for yourself, because we got to be really, this psychic locomotion capacity that we have, changing places like this, we got to really be aware of not stepping onto other people's journeys and allowing people their karmic resolve. And some of it is atrocious. And we've done it ourselves. And if we can't remember it for this lifetime, we've done it in other lifetimes. So are there any questions that come up with that? The idea of psychic locomotion is to acknowledge the observer capacity that we have, entangled or entangled, unentangled or entangled. And the importance of really acknowledging that for everything that we do in our lives. And also there's another acknowledgement in there. You might have a conversation like we're having here, but then there are so many parts and aspects of your soul. What you're seeing here is an agglomerate of my soul shards and parts, right? Like we all present ourselves as a unity, hopefully, you know, in harmony. But then there are shards and parts of our souls and aspects that are still stuck in these places. They are hiding there. They are lost there. They are forgotten there. And these parts and shards are still impacting on us, because those hurt ones, those wounded ones, it's not easy for them to stay in an unentangled observer situation. They are literally connecting into the hub of interconnectivity in our unknowingness most of the time, until we begin to question our 3D reality and start realizing our multidimensional fractal consciousness and fractured consciousness. And this is really the thing where, you know, this is the next level of looking at the psychic locomotion, where, you know, we are jumping from one shot to the other. And sometimes you can literally perceive that you're having a conversation with somebody, and all of a sudden the person changes the language, not the language necessarily, but the voice changes, or even the residual image changes, because one of those other shards is coming in, not necessarily sacred neutral, and just takes over the avatar. If the person you're talking to has too much that still needs to be healed. Do we have
I
any?
mean, I think we see this a lot with people in our lives who have an unresolved, like, wounded child, right? Where you'll be having a conversation and something will trigger that little person within who isn't unified yet. And all of a sudden you'll see, like, the temper tantrum or like the little kid come out. And we've all seen this. So that's just a good example.
Exactly. And we're doing it, but it's just fun when you're actually acknowledging it. Now, I had a very interesting dream last night. I had a dream. It was me. I was holding a tray, and there was a little hole on the side, and there was a plant coming out. And every time I was drinking something, I just took a bit of the water and put it onto the plant. And what happened was I was actually feeding somebody, it was almost like the tray was a portal connected through that hole, and I was feeding somebody that was underneath. So I went for a walk today, and I thought, so who are you? Why am I giving you water? Who are you? Are you obviously a shard of me, and where do you live? And she came through as a she said, oh, I'm living in the dark. And I'm like, okay, why would you do that? She said, no, I'm connected to you through you feeding me. You're giving me that life. You're keeping me connected to this earthly realm, but I'm living in the dark. And I said, is this your choice? And she said, yeah, because I've been living there for a long time. I've been observing you, but I'm living there because it allows me to learn the unlimited point of view, because everything is dark. And my perspective is, because I can't see anything in particular and there is no distraction, I have this 360 perspective and perception, because I'm taking everything on. No, I'm not taking it on in terms of feeling bad about it, but I'm learning. I'm getting all these different perspectives, And I said to her, I said, well, that sounds really cool. I think it's time for you to get up and integrate with me, because I want to have this perspective, right? I want to be. But it was really interesting that dream popped up for me, because there were so many contradictions in a way, when you see, somebody living in the dark, even that, she came through saying living in the dark, and yet her perspective that she tried to pass on to me was so expansive by living there without distraction. So why am I saying this is because that is a psychic locomotion in a way, by just taking a shard that obviously presented itself and having a conversation with it, right? And finding out more about who I truly am, or what I am working on at the moment. And this is perfect timing, because the book's out there and this vacuum appeared. Like, what am I supposed to be doing now, right? Then I start reading in the book and thinking, oh God, I could have written this better. Oh God, there's a comma missing. That I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? You gotta disentangle psychic locomotion. There's no need to go back and reread the book and make yourself wrong for what you could have written in a better way or not, because at the end of the day, it's just interfering. And also, it's taking me into that place where I can get stuck. How many times do we get stuck when we're not aware of our psychic locomotion? We get stuck in a place and go over and over and over and over things again. And that keeps us limited. We might be looking okay, having a conversation with everyone, but there is the totality of who we are is lacking. and the capacity to have new experiences is sort of limited. And this is why I posted what I posted. What was that? Because I really enjoyed looking at that. So being addicted to real dopamine. I mean, we could say stay in a moment, right?
Mhm.
Now, psychic locomotion, remain in the untangled observer mode to create, like she says here, experience new things, to create new things. And then there's nothing wrong, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong going into the implicate order, because this is where you use your intellectual faculty and distill more information. It's almost like, I mean, part of the reason why I did go to Turkey was to make more experiences, to create more experiences. And lots of those experiences that we've created, or I speak for myself, that I've created there, they came intuitively from the heart. They were sort of triggered intuitively. And, you know, because I didn't want to go and kill it with going into something too tangible at the time. But now what I'm seeing now is that whatever intuition that was sort of stored in the heart, attracted magnetically through the heart or anything, that's now coming up into the head, and it's being distilled by the faculty of the head. And this is what Steiner, remember, Sandrine and I, we were just listening to Rudolf Steiner, and he puts it so perfectly. And this is, we've said this 1,000 times, and we are even adding the gut. We have to bring the head faculty, the heart intuitive faculty, and the gut intuitive as well, and add it all together, merge it all together. And this in itself, and I'll stop talking in a minute, this in itself includes the different shards, parts, and I ams that we have distributed in this lifetime, other lifetimes, dimension, galaxies, and universes. Okay, over to you guys.
So I might be off topic, but when I think of the subject matter, like I look at it from the hologram, right? Like, how do we learn to work with the technology that is the hologram? And so that really is being, like, using the unentangled observer is being able to pull away from like an emotional attachment that restricts what the algorithm can do. And like, you sit back and you look at it from what results in the best and the most highest potential outcome. Does that make sense? So I'm working on trying to learn to use the technology of the algorithm to take away anything that I place on it by like having a hard no or too much of an attachment to a particular desire that I might have that would send me only down one path instead of having unlimited outcomes, if that makes sense.
So you're actually describing the unentangled observer flow that is universally connected to all the infinite possibilities that are out there. And you are almost in the undefined state of beingness that allows you to see all the different opportunities and possibilities out there. And then just choose it from there. And also what you're saying is what that requires. And that, again, that's a very important part of the psychic locomotion, is that you are looking towards being emotionally balanced.
Yes.
Because it is the emotional imbalance that takes us out of the unentangled observer.
Which for me is I can either turn my emotions off or I can feel everything. And so another layer of balance, because part of the human experience is feeling everything, right? And having the emotions, but not letting my emotions drive me. So that has been a learning experience, and something that I've been working on adjusting over the last few months.
Amazing. Well, that's a journey. That's the journey to self-mastery, to sovereignty and self-healing. That's all our journeys. And when we go back to the beginning, let's go back to the Lemurian times, where in the Lemurian times, we didn't have the solidity of bodies. We weren't the thinking men at the time. We didn't think. It was a completely different, because there were no memories. The memories only started to solidify afterwards. At least that resonates with me. Look, is this true or not? It's just what I'm hearing and reading, and that's what resonates with me. And without those, we were much more present with what is. We were much more connected. We took the information from, the cup talking to me, or the plant rather, and the animal staying really, really, really almost entangled. But because there were no memories at the time necessarily, we never really needed to go back into that other place where we went over everything a million times, because by the time, we had experienced something, we've already moved on in the very beginning. And then, of course, things started to change as we started to move more into our thinking minds and modes. And the faculty started to grow and to, become much more defined. Individuality became more defined as we moved on into the next root races. So it's almost like when we talk about, that soul consciousness wasn't necessarily an individual soul consciousness at the time. It was more like, it wasn't defined as an I am. That was the journey of our journey to create and develop all those faculties, and then learn about that unentangled observer status, so that we can have a choice to create with our free will what we really want to create, and at the same time not step on other people's journeys and let them do whatever they have to do.
Which is, if you're in the here and now, in the Lemurian, when you say that there was no memories, because when you are in the here and now and you're living in the here and now, you don't have that, because that does not exist. There is no past, there is no future, there is only the now. And if I look at that and I bring it back to my engagement and my knowledge of having talked with ethnic minority people and ethnic minorities, some of them, they don't have any notion of what has happened before and what is going to happen, because that does not exist. It's only the now that exists. So you wake up in the morning, you are there, you do your work. You don't know if tomorrow you're going to be there or not. What you have done afterward, past is like, yeah, okay, I did that, but whatever, why are we still talking about it in a sense? So there is no connect. So what my point where I'm getting to is that I think this whole, we as the species here, we lost completely our connection to what, to the natural, and to, if I can call it the natural, to this what was before. And this is where we got lost. And this is also where we still have, a lot of problems talking about spirituality nowadays, is that because nobody understands what spirituality means, because they have lost the spirit of connecting. So you spoke about the natural DMT. I mean, everybody, each of our brains is able to secrete DMT on its own. You know, you can either do it. Our pineal glands, you know, as we know, have you know, reduced from this size to, you know, to smaller than a peanut size. So, and this is where everything was just in that sense working, and this is where we got lost. And that's for me also the relation with the DNA strands, which, you know, when they talk about junk DNA, I'm like, well, don't talk about junk because it's not junk. It's just because you don't understand it right now, or we don't understand it right now, it doesn't mean it's junk. Why would nature do junk? It doesn't do junk, you know. So yeah, this is now just going, you know, all over the.
No, it's, you're spot on, and it's perfectly, and thanks for bringing up natural living, right? Because, and this is also something that came up through the journey to Turkey, because, you know, I was always looking at, or I started to perceive that the way they looked, that they lived with that spiritual technology, which is a natural technology. So because of we're no longer living, and you're absolutely right, those ethnic minorities, they're probably still living in a certain environment where it is not as difficult as it is for people like us, living in LA, living in San Francisco, living in, you know, Tennessee, in London, you know, that kind of thing. We're living in a collective consciousness, being fed a collective narrative that and this is the thing, this is part of the healing journey. That's what makes it more difficult. And this is where, you know, yes, we have to be those people. There's a reason why we have chosen to live in that environment, because, you know, this is part of our peacemaker work and peacekeeper work. There's no point for us to sit in the monastery somewhere in the Himalayas, because it's easy to live there. And to have a much better understanding here, we need all those urban shamans to come together and say, hey, we can do this whilst we're living in a very convoluted, mind-convoluted environment here. And those minorities that are so grateful for people like that. Those are the reminders of, we have to get back to that natural living. And getting back to natural living, this is I think what people often look at as an oxymoron. Well, you know, there's no technology in natural living. Well, you just want to grow fucking vegetables. Well, the technology is not the technology that you're thinking. It's our spiritual technology. It's our psychic locomotive technology to make choices. And that's what intellect actually is. Intellect, the word intellect's got fuck all to do with having all these amazing facts and figures that you put yourself into your so-called brain. No, it's having the choice to be and do where you want to be and do.
So you spun me around for a second when you said we didn't have memories in Lemuria. So I was looking to see, like, what would that mean, right? And I look at Lemuria as like that was where we are more advanced than we are in our current place in the hologram right now. And so, you know, when you look at things in quantum and all this going on at the same time, like, they can be cognizant. We can be cognizant there of what we are doing here. And when we look at things here, we look at, like, being able to pull all these other parts of ourselves so that we can utilize what we know and what we can do there and bring that into here. And I may be going nowhere with this, so sorry. But looking at it there and bringing it back into all these layers, we don't really need all that data and all those parts. It's really just a matter of harnessing who we are in one embodiment, right? So the memories really aren't as important. It's encoded into our DNA. We don't have to have the data of the memories. It's really just that embodiment of who we are now, where we are now. And so when I was thinking about people that aren't immersed in a city center and don't have to go to an office and things like that, and they are in the natural way of living, their connectedness is somewhat close to where they are in Lemuria, because they are not as distracted and as entangled with the outside world as we are. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And you know, it throws up a couple of things for me. First of all, when we say they were more advanced, you see, when we look at advanced, we are linking it with what does more advanced mean? The people, we at the time, and we're talking what, 54 million years ago or something, you know, a lot of shit has happened since then. We've had many, many, many lifetimes. We've learned a lot of things. We accumulated millions of memories. We are no longer who we were then, right?
Now, right?
Huh?
Then is now too, right?
Then is now too, but then again, you know, we can use our psychic locomotion and just go there and see who we were there and probably think, oh, I was super fucking psychic then, and I could do psychic attacks and take out the whole, I don't know, continent by just doing that, and I could bilocate and everything. But I actually didn't know that I was doing it. I wasn't aware of it. I didn't have the awareness then. All that evolution that has happened since then has happened for a reason. Because think, I mean, we you know, that's what I'm saying. What was advanced? Yes, we were more psychic because we didn't know anything that we know now. That's what's now taking away that. But we can do, but we can. And this is the journey of the avatar, the I am avatar now, is to have the capacities, all these different intellectual faculties, the reflection, the retrospection, the hindsight and everything, plus the psychic capacities that we had then. Because we're living now. And that's the point. The world has moved on. Luckily now, because, and remember, we must remember one thing. We've come here for a reason. We were called, Earth called us, Gaia called us in to be in this galactic ascension machine because so much shit went down. We've come here for karmic entanglement. So whatever advancement we had then, we need to use it because we know we can still work with that. It's innately within our DNA, within our soul codes. If you can resonate with the frequency of the Lemurians. But at the same time, we need to see what's happening now, feet on the ground here now. And bring your Lemurian, you know, parts in, and bring your Atlantean parts in, and bring your Neanderthal in, God knows, your Pleiadian and Arcturian and Reptile for that matter, because we all have that DNA within us. And bring it all together, but make it work now. We don't want to go back to the time where we didn't have any memories. That was the beginning of spirit getting to know itself through the marriage of matter and spirit.
Oh.
Weren't we less people at that moment? Weren't we less? I mean, are we now not just at the culmination of, you know, where the tipping point where it's...
In Lemuria, were we less, you mean?
Yeah, no, I mean less people, the number, quantity-wise.
Then you mean?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, the Lemurians, when we talk about the Lemurians, we talk about a race that was already advanced. There was millions of other people there that were not on the same level, right? Because as we're looking at our Earth now, you know, in the beginning, when we were in the light worker mode, we all thought, oh, we have to get together and raise our levels of awareness so we can move on together. Now we know that there is an explorer race out there, like we are all part of that will lead the way. And, you know, there's not just one Earth. There are many different Earths now, many different holograms of Earth, right? That's again where we need to become those. We need to become really comfortable being those psychic locomotion, because we're gonna, you know, move into a higher frequency Earth. And this is exactly what we're already doing because of our fractured consciousness. We have higher versions of ourselves in a higher, frequency Earth, but then we also have versions of ourselves that are stuck in the forgotten, in the hiding space, right? And this is, as time travelers, we have a time traveling consciousness. We go to these places and bring them back and bring them all onto the graduation timeline, because that's what it is, I mean, the majority of the timelines has been already put together by Prime Creator, as we know, 2013 or whenever it was. But now we have graduation timeline, we have the above and the below. And it's our responsibility, it's our birthright, our legacy, our responsibility at the level of our awareness to bring our shards and parts and I ams and all these different, aspects of our soul onto the graduation timeline, because we're going to graduate, right? And then we're going to go back out to the other worlds because we have the soul codes. This is it. It's not the soul, it's the physical body that has the soul codes. Yeah, that was something, we must not forget. Because when I had my walk-in, they wanted my body. They needed to eradicate the physical DNA skin suit. It wasn't the soul they wanted. They needed to eradicate the body. And why is the body so important? Because the body is an accumulation of your soul's journey. You keep coming back. You might not look the same, but you keep coming back with your accumulated soul knowledge. And this is the whole point of us bringing that, so harnessing the soul, bringing all those bits, all those memories that we now have into this reality, into this realm. But at the same time, lots of us know the celestial medium journey that we're all on, that is already happening simultaneously whilst we're having this lovely physical experience. We are also working already in all this. And most of us, definitely you guys here on this, or whoever watches this recording, is already simultaneously working as a psychic locomotive technology, working with other beings, working with other dimensions within this realm, and of course outside. So let's go back to this lovely list, experiencing new things, right? Back into the moment. And that's what turns on our technology as well, because especially when we go to these places, I mean, we don't have to go to look at ancient stones, but, if you do that kind of thing. And the other thing is, when you do it with a group, it's super powerful. And I'm hoping at some stage that some of the peeps will come on and actually have a conversation. We have a conversation about it together with Sandrine, who was on the, because it was just great to see how every participant had almost a memory. Whenever they were talking about something, they're sort of, oh, I think it's this, I think it's this. Well, what is that? It's a memory that wanted to surface. So every single one who was on that bus in that tour lived in those times. We were there before. It was just a matter of remembering. What did we do there? Sandrine, what was your thing along those lines now, which we probably won't discuss when we get the group together, in terms of psychic locomotion?
Oh my goodness. I mean, for me, it was the, when you talk about experiencing new things, I mean, I already had, as I told you, that I'm on journey to actually really acknowledge my psychic abilities. In a sense, I told you I need to find a crystal ball, because sometimes it's like scary things that are coming out of my mouth, and I'm not even realizing it's just coming out. And for me, it was this and I do believe that it was also because some of you guys actually had the right, you served as portals as well. I mean, you served as a portal. I do believe that Elena also sometimes served as a portal to even further open up some energies where, as I told you, you know, if when I went into the Saffron Monastery, I was like, you know, I've been here, you know, I'm like, we went into this room there and we were like, yeah, what are you talking about? You know, we know where everything is, and to get this to get the feelings, you know, of we have been there, we have done something here. And then for me, what was the most scary is when we went to one of the cisterns where I mean, you could not go to the underground city.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah.
But when we went to the second cistern, I felt like people were starting to become like even angry at each other, and they were soon fighting, and there was an energy of paranoia and everything coming up. Now I was like, woo, this is very weird. For me, it was very weird to feel that, because I could not even I'm sorry to say so, in a normal group, I would not even later on have said anything, but I had to say it. I had to say that you guys were starting even to fight about, you know, where's the water coming from? But it cannot be this stone, it must be this. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So there was so much stuff happening. And this is where I'm starting now more or less engage much more with different energies around me, which opened up this new experience of having it in a shared group, in this group with these people, some helping to be the portal of these energies. And then for myself to actually experience that and go through it. So that was for me eye-opening, apart from 100 million other things. But that was for me the one that probably still stays with me. That which is one of the reasons why I don't really look at the pictures. I don't even know why I took 2051 pictures, but it's like, why? You know, it's okay. I mean, I know what I saw and I know what I felt. So it's much more important being this feeling and, you know, reminding of what happened.
Yeah. Well, psychic locomotion, that's the thing. You walk in there and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I've been here. And of course, if you do it in unknowingness, that sort of raging lunatic energy can super come through, because these were times which weren't that easy. You know, those were times where there was survival, you know, and there was a reason why people lived in underground cities, you know, and things like that. Amazing.
It's interesting as you're talking about the cistern experience and the way it triggered so many people in your group. I can see the former timelines that they were tapping into around scarcity, right? Around being cloistered in that area for their own protection and fearing that things would run out.
Oh, that second cistern, that was a building of absolute paranoia. It was utterly huge. It was utterly deep. It was like a monument of paranoia. Seriously, for me. I mean, I'm speaking from my own perspective. I'm not saying that but yeah, no, absolutely. It was like out of this world. Like, whoa, very, very wrong, very strange.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why were those cisterns built? They were built exactly for that reason.
Sure.
You know, because there was shit going on and they had to survive. So, you know, making sure that the water outside in the rivers weren't poisoned and stuff like that.
Which is my whole point about all these sites being related with water and having to deal with the energy of water, you know. So
absolutely. And Gigi, the thing is with water is programmable. So even though there is no water there anymore, the programming of whatever went on, of all the hoo-ha that went on at the time, is still imprinted in the stones.
Absolutely.
And this is, I think, probably, I'm just thinking actually why I had more resonance when I walked into the systems than actually at Göbekli Tepe, to be honest, because I somehow understand that the imprinting, the energetic imprinting, was actually removed from the stones. So whereas some people still say, you know, they have lots of stuff going on there, I personally, for me, I didn't feel anything. It was like, I don't feel anything. And I do feel stuff usually, because during Kuyo, I couldn't even go downstairs. It was like, okay, I walked in and my gut said, get the fuck out of here. All right.
And I was already down, and I was like, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? You know, like, where is she?
Couldn't do it. I mean, look, I'm not I'm not.
No, you're not a claustrophobic, but this
anyway,
was, yeah.
but I did go into the others, but during Kuyo was not my thing.
But you see, this is where I think that Karahan Tepe, there must have been water there. There must have been the Karahan Tepe with the, you know, the pillar shrine, as they call it, with the head. This is utterly much more older than anything that we ever believe. It is for me still, okay. And it responded much more than Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is, for me, is like the forgotten library. It's the doomsday book, you know, and when they start digging up more sites, that site for me was dead. Karahan Tepe for me was still, because there is much more organic still going on there for me than at Göbekli Tepe. And I do believe that at one stage they will destroy that. Okay, but it is very strong there.
Yeah. Who of you guys have watched, there was a talking stick show the other day about Atlantis. Has anyone seen that? So I watched that one, and they were talking about, Abi was talking about the last fall of Atlantis, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we're talking about 200,000 years ago. Yeah. And you got to look at the timeline paradox. Yeah. You can't look at it linearly. So that made a lot of sense. And that was the time at the fall of Atlantis, the third fall, let's say 200,000 years ago. And when I heard that, I'm thinking, that's the time we're talking for Turkey. Because that was the time when the multidimensional beings called in the Anunnaki, because they wanted them, because Atlantis wasn't just, like Abi says, it wasn't just one little place on this earth. It was pretty much the generation and the population of this planet at that high level of functioning. Now, when they fell and it all was decimated back to the Stone Age, the multidimensional beings called in the Anunnaki to reactivate the womb chakras and work with the people, because the people, whilst they were like decimated and downgraded to being, I don't know, hunters again, for that matter, if we can say that, they still had the gene pool because of their bodies and their spiritual technology that they obviously no longer knew how to use. But that's what it brought in, the higher versions of them, which were the Anunnaki, are the Anunnaki. And then they come in, and they came in, and this is how they lured them in, because what happened was they got actually involved. They realized, what the hell is going on here? There was technology, not just etheric technology, spiritual technology, but also probably physical technology somehow hidden underneath, like we have now everywhere on this planet. And they started to reactivate that. And that's how they got sucked into the galactic ascension machine. Yeah. Gigi, you're not familiar with the galactic ascension machine, but that is 430,000 years ago. Gaia called us all in, said, hey, because the Earth has been teleported 12 times. And she needed people, sentients, to come back in to help her to get back to natural living, right? And so they got sucked into, and then started interbreeding, you know, and all, you got this Nephiliums and you know, what do you call it?
Yeah, the Nephilims and
the giants, blah blah blah. Yeah. So that's all part of that. Yes, sorry.
Now that you come up with, you know, Mother Gaia calling us to come, and the natural, because there is always now, it just blew my mind. If we are an advanced civilization, if we are in an advanced civilization status, why would we need nature? Why would we need the creepy crawlies? Why would we need the buck? Why would we need the rabbits? Why would we? Because then it would, in a sense, more look like science fiction. You know, the science fiction that in the comic books that they showed on Mars or wherever on Pluto, you have the Star Trek intergalactic you know, like in the science fiction movies where you see then the cities that are being built, that they are void of nature, because it's like just technology in a sense, you know, it's just stuff. There is no nature in there, very, very, very little. So I'm like, there must have been a reason why, it's particularly on this Earth or on this planet, it's probably in the end still the only one where there is this nature and the creepy crawlies and the greeneries and stuff like that. I don't know, because we are maybe the only one, could be, you know, whatever. So now that you were talking about this, you know, like, okay, but then we need to get back on how to, as you rightly put it now, to be able to live with that. And what we are doing is that we are coming up with all this material stuff and technology and stuff, the technical technology and the metallurgy and whatever, that we are actually harming everything for the moment.
So there's a couple of things. I mean, this group is familiar with the Earth being a 7th dimensional seed planet, or used to be originally. So the Earth has more than 250 or whatever womb chakras. And over the most of those womb chakras, there we have war, like Iraq, you know, but we were right there in Turkey, in the Southeast, you know, all of that. So these womb chakras, if we would be living on top of those womb chakras, which have a certain frequency, a certain, you know, spiritual technology, we would just wake up, because it would switch on our technology, our spiritual codes, like Tanya was saying. So this is why people who would not benefit from the population switching on create war in those particular places. But you're absolutely right. So Earth has the capacity to populate other worlds. We can, and this is what Avi actually mentioned in the Atlantis show. He said, you know, in Atlantean times, we were growing trees, specific forests, millions of them, that were then teleported onto other worlds to create worlds, you know? I mean, we have on this planet Earth, we have the egg and sperm technology. And there are other species that have the same, but there's lots of other different technologies. But he also talks about, you know, species that have lost the capacity to have children. And us, we are supposed to be teachers, because Earth is a school. It's the school of hard knocks, as he calls it, because, you know, it's a free will universe, which means everything fucking goes. And this is unfortunately where Prime Creator fucked up, because he allowed it for millions of years to, okay, it's free will, you can do whatever you want, until he realized, well, obviously, she, whatever, you know, that kind of thing, who actually said, okay, that's it. And then we had the audit in 2013, right? Where I said, okay, that's it. We can no longer do that. So, and of course, everything now, the planet has changed its position in the galactic plane and blah, blah, blah. There's so much. And now we're having an opportunity to literally wake up. And the only way of waking up, or the best way of waking up, this is all blah, blah. This is all ego. This is all because, you know, it's fun for us to have this conversation. It inspires us. But the main thing is the healing of our fractured consciousness over 54 million years, of the battles that we have fought. Because we've done it all. We've done the good guys. We've been the bad guys. We've had so many lifetimes. People here on this Zoom, that We don't have to feel bad, apologize, because we've all killed each other at some stage, loved each other at some stage. And this is the thing, sacred neutral observer. You can go into a lifetime where I killed Gigi, I'm sure. I mean, she killed me, she's taller than me. You know what I mean?
That's in this lifetime. Yeah.
No, but I think you're always a bit tall. But you know what I mean? It's okay. But I can say that because all my life, this is the work that I've done all my life. Not in awareness, but in unawareness in the beginning. And then the last 15, 20 years, full on karmic resolution. And this is what the galactic ascension machine is all about. We've come here to help this planet to get back into her 7th dimensional planet state, which obviously we're not there yet, but you know, sometimes we can take glimpses of it because we're time travelers, right? And we have this psychic locomotion. And what does it mean? It means nothing else. So let's say we're having this. This is not a 3D conversation. This is not a 4D conversation. This is like 6, 7 conversation because there's enthusiasm there. There's joy. There's no reductionism. There's no fucking conclusion. I'm not even saying what I'm saying is right. Choose it or leave, whatever you choose. There is no bias or we can only speak from our truth here. And then the authenticity will either resonate or not. And it's a matter of exploration. And we are consciousness explorers. This is what this fucking group is all about. We're not here to save the world. We are here to explore the world, the consciousness, and to have literally some fun with it, because that's what it's all about. Of course, we could go into doom and gloom and, oh God, because we know it's been shit, yes. It's okay. We can move on from that. Whatever that needs to be healed, let's heal it. Let's move on. Because we can do this. We can go back a couple of lifetimes where we did fuck up and change it, heal it. That's what soul shard, psychic surgery, all of that shit is all about. We can do it. And the less we don't think we can't, the faster it goes. It's like an integration, like having this conversation with this weird little hidden chick, on my plate. And then let's see. I mean, look, there comes a time where, you have to just trust yourself. You have to go with the flow and say, look, of course I could say, well, why don't I even say this? People think I'm crazy and, and is it really going to happen or not? Well, I'll see that when I allow it. There is this trust. And, some of us are clairvoyant and clairauditory and all of this. The worst fucking clair you can have is the claircognizant. I've struggled with this forever because I have no proof. I just know. I can feel it.
I'm right there. I'm with you.
I know. That's why we clicked. I met her. I'm like, okay, that's it.
One of the things that I've observed, as you're talking about, having the past time relationships, right, where we've known each other and we've killed each other or, had relationships, and we tend to sort of like run around the block with the same group of souls. And one of the things that I've observed as people are bringing those soul shards back together is they might be experiencing grief for a relationship that they had in this lifetime, in this timeline, space-time continuum, that triggers back to memory from a different life and a different life, right? It's almost like the strings of a marionette, right? Where a certain emotion will go back and back and back, right? It pulls the finger, it pulls the wrist, it pulls the elbow, it pulls the shoulder, right? And goes straight to the heart. And the judgments that an individual may be perceiving in this time continuum might be from memories of the past. So as those soul shards begin to integrate, there becomes a deeper understanding, and the person can move from the entangled energetic perspective to the more unentangled, where, oh, okay, all of a sudden now I have a wider perspective of all of these times that Martina and Sandrine were in some type of relationship that caused pain or trauma in past timelines. All of that's bubbling up to the surface for feeling and for healing right now. So it's moving from that entangled perspective to the unentangled perspective, where we can back up now once those soul shards are integrated and see that larger perspective, see that larger picture.
Absolutely. And that's where the unentangled observer technology allows you to be in full flow. That's where you have universal access. And you see everything. That's where you can read the Akash. You don't have to take sides. You don't have to align and agree, resist or react, because it's just an open book and you're just reading the energy. You're reading the crystalline imprint. Not that I can totally read it, but I'm just saying, that's the practice. You're absolutely right. You said something else. I was going to add something and I can't remember now. Yeah. Does anyone else? Yeah, go.
Well, I was just kind of going back to what Sandrine was saying about more sort of like indigenous cultures, like living in the moment. I saw this energy. I'm just looking at the list, right, that you posted, which is eat nourishing food and live in the moment. I had this memory the other day. I went out to my garden in the morning to pick salad greens, and I rinsed them off and I put them to dry, and I didn't eat them until like later in the evening, and I had left them out. I didn't stick them in the fridge or anything like that, and some of them were sort of like a little bit wilted by the time I got around to eating them. And this living in the moment that we experienced when I was in Egypt, where we went to some of these very small, simple, little sort of like gathering places, eating places, and we would order food, and the person would go outside and pick the produce and make the food and serve it to us, like right in that moment. And I was thinking as I was eating my greens, gosh, I really should have eaten these earlier, in that moment, because they were so much more like vibrant and fresh. Not to say that they weren't vibrant and fresh, because I just picked them in the morning, but there's this, this different sort of energetic where, I was busy, I wasn't hungry, I had to, do a number of things. So that was my time slot for doing that. So I just think in this culture, this sort of like city global narrative culture, we do lose that in a way, right? And I'm probably, San Francisco is sort of an urban farming community in some respects, but there's a lot of people who are really disconnected from that and disconnected from the land. And so, kind of like in the sliding scale somewhere in between. I don't know why, but I thought that was important to
Well,
mention.
absolutely. And also it brings up your connection to Lemurian times, I would say to the later times of Lemuria, because, you think about in Lemuria, it was actually the female, this is where it all goes back, the female, being taken down and being prosecuted so much, because it was the female gender, of course, because it's more pronounced in the woman itself through the babies and blah, 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 that actually became the teachers that started to remember things and put them into a certain context, and everything that they did in the moment in order to preserve it for the future, for the next level of Atlanteans, that what we call Atlanteans at the time, it had to be passed on. And you always remind me with your connection to Earth and with your psychic capacity, you always remind me, you must have been right at the edge, you know, between right. You must have had a very powerful and potent lifetime there as a teacher and as a scribe and as a, you know, whatever, to bring that over. Yeah. So yeah. So, well, obviously, you know your own stuff anyway, but it's always, because you always go, you're so connected to the earth, because we lost that after that, you know, after the Lemurian times, we lost a lot of that because of all the fighting that started and everything. And then, of course, the Atlanteans, they were much more on a masculine side, which we needed as well, you know, but it was always the female, because it was the male that went out there and did the fields, because there was fucking, you know, agriculture then. It wasn't like, you know, waiting now 12,000 years BC before they started to put a corn in the bloody soil. For God's sake. What I mean? That kind of thing. That was then. We had all of these technologies then. But the technologies were spiritual. We could change our bodies. If we wanted to build a pyramid, well, then we just made ourselves strong and big so that we could do it, right? Instead of groveling around and doing all of this. We had capacities like that. We used sounds. The language wasn't really there at the time, you know, so there was more like the sound that created frequencies, the rhythm, the movement, and all of that. Yeah, we had bodies that weren't solid as they are now, but we still had all of that. And then, of course, it all got more solidified, but then also we became more, our thinking faculty just grew. And that's why I think it's so important. And for me, it was very important to also put this in the book. I wanted to, it's important because we're no longer living in a purely just psychic community. We take a Lemurian that used to live there and put them here, could not live on this planet right now. Would be absolutely no contribution. It was the whole reason why we haven't really completely and utterly amalgamated and met our star soul family, because they can't live in an energy that we live. It's too dense. Our energies, our intensity, our anger, our frustration would zap them. There's another reason why Jen, you know, was saying we need to get out of this emotional fucking turmoil bullshit, you know, if we really want to start communicating on a much more, on a grander personality. Having said all that, we're talking about how many people are living on this planet. Well, we're talking, I don't know, 7-8 million. That's just bullshit, really. This is just a couple. This is us, which we're counting the bodies. There are trillions of beings living on this planet, communicating with us, working with us, living in all sorts of forms. This is what those 12 dimensions that we are talking about in this physical reality. Just because they're in the 7th dimension or 8th dimension, they still have a form. We just can't see them. Or we can. It's a bit like the ghosts. The ghosts that still hang about here. Well, there is still an etheric form that still hangs about here until we release them. And this is another job of ours, who have that kind of appreciation for the continuation of form in a different density, in a different sort of frequency, and understand that there's nothing to be afraid of being a ghost, of having ghosts in your house. And because when you come from that perspective, you'll probably have quite a few hang about until you help them to cross over, because most of them don't even know that they're bloody dead. We talked about this before. So this is really, really important. That's all part of this psychic locomotion. But then again, you know, this is the work that we're doing, and that's fun. But then also we need a very physical fun. Yeah. And that's good food. And what else is on our list here? And
Dancing in the kitchen.
kitchen, yes.
Disco.
And spend time in the sunshine and wanting
Yeah.
to evolve, making a difference where you can. What is this? So I keep talking to each other.
Well,
Oh, no, I don't know. No, it's fine.
I don't know, but I was thinking about when you mentioned about the women that were suppressed. And it make me realize, remember about Don Juan Matus from Carlos Catanera, that they always want to push the women, push it to overcome independable. You know, that they had to go to get education, and they had to go at the same time that go in the past, or the shamans that they called at that time. However, they had to go to get education, because for them women were very special. And my understanding is because the uterus that women carry when we are in the feminine body. Because so for me sometimes kind of tricky, because we have both energy. However, when it's in the physical body and women have the uterus have all the information about what is life, you know, like let's see, the library of information of life, right? And then that's why for women it's easier than for men to continue developments of a path. Like when we dedicated our self-development, it's easier for women because we had that natural connection with Mother Earth. And the men have to do like a double effort to be able to get that connection, because we have it natural. And it's very interesting because they suppress women in most of the societies. That's mean because the men have to show that he is the one that had the power. Because when women is suppressed, then there's no like a openings, like a collaboration, connection, integration, because it's like a battlefield between sex and the family too. Because when the women is suppressed, the women have a lot of suffering, a lot of restriction that carry in, and that affecting the whole family. Doesn't matter how much the man is the man of the house that bring the food, is the women is suppressed, that love, natural love, is not manifested because it had a suppression. And that's the way how I feel that's why we have so many conflicts, that women have like a less opportunity than the men, because it's that maybe the own program of control, manipulation, and society, the narrative is to keeping us like a dumbed down all time. And this we have a battle in between sex. We imagine what happened outside in the society. That's the way I feel it when you were talking about the women were suppressing in the Lemurian time.
So what I'd like to add to this, it's a good point. And I would also say that gender indoctrination is something that is something rather new. Yeah, I wouldn't even go so far to say that goes much further than Industrial Revolution. That's really, you know, over the last couple of 100 years, where this gender, you know, when that unnatural Industrial Revolution pushed us into the cities and everything. One thing for sure, as you're saying, is that the female, not gender related now, the female has always been hugely powerful and potent. Yeah, that now because of the Rumi, what you're mentioning. I don't know if that sounds as an interesting point of view, but also because they had more, because of the child rearing and stuff like that. They have been exposed to their spiritual technology more. And I would also say they had more time to spend away from the battle and the fight. Even, I'm not saying women didn't go into battle or anything, but it was definitely more than male dominated, generally speaking, which gave them more opportunity to spend more time descending inside and work and connect universally, you know, to the natural universal laws, I would say. That's just my take. I think all this gender bullshit is just so old paradigm, for God's sake, you know. But having said all that, so why was it that the woman, the female, let's call it the female, has been? Because it's not just that. Think of the many gay people at the time. Yeah, they were all being what's the word, hunted in a way, right?
Yeah.
All the female sort of traits were sort of, you know, tried to be eradicated because they have a capacity, a spiritual capacity to waken up because of the nurturing, because of, you know, the artistic, you know, and because of all of that. It just didn't fit into the paradox, into the fighting, into the multidimensional beings that had come in and onto this planet so early, because they wanted to dominate the population because of the, you know, I mean, Gigi, you don't know, but we talk about the earth being a farm. We're being farmed as the DNA farm. Our energy is being harvested and sold off-world, within, subsurface, and above. So this is the whole reason why we're being kept indoctrinated and limited, because as long as we can limit the population and don't allow them to switch on their spiritual technology and knowledge and everything, we can still be controlled. This is the whole reason why. And this is not a conspiracy. We're so beyond this conspiracy BS. It makes perfect sense if you look at this. Why is that evolution continuously? As soon as, you know, we came back, well, there was another fall. Because, because, you know, as above, so below. Yeah. It's not. Just one more sentence, because, you know, anything above the physical body doesn't mean that they are angels or just as greedy fucks as they are here on this plane.
It's like a battlefield to be here. However, because everything that we see in movie and everything is like a survival mode, like invention, you know, people coming from another planet, invading the planet, killing everybody. It's the feeling that every day we receive. And then it's like this mess is so messy that we can think what right, I think to the right, to the left, or go straight or go back, because it's so much messy. It's so much competition and, you know, battlefield in all levels that sometimes, oh my God, this will never end, because I'm looking for the peace. But when the peace is going to be there? Because everywhere we go, it's just like a battlefield everywhere.
Yeah.
And how we become neutral, and then no entangling. We, you know, exactly be attract to those experience that we seeing here in this planet. It's like it's being like it's like a superhero to be stable and not go, you know, swat by all the social media that we receive every day and everywhere.
And this is the thing, there is no savior out there. Sorry, Alfredo. Yeah, go, Alfredo.
No, I love what she said. It's so funny. That's it.
It is.
It is. You got to be a hero to, you know, rise above all this distraction in our world. It literally, I love it.
And we are heroes. The real heroes are those that who sacrifice themselves on the bloody battlefield. The real heroes are those that do the work, so that we can switch on our spiritual technology and start taking this planet beyond. And even if we just take that earth we have created for ourselves beyond, so that anyone else who wants to stay behind or wants to, you know, keep playing in the tadpole, let them do it. we will come back. That's the celestial medium journey. Most of us probably will come back because we've been on this planet so many times and we are sort of engaging with it, and it makes a lot of sense to us. We are wanting it to work, and we have created a situation where it can work. All we need to do is stay on track, keep doing our healing work that never stops, you know, with our psychic capacities, you know, and most importantly, have some fucking fun.
Well, and keep holding that visualization of what we want to evolve into. You know, and maybe it's 10 years down the line, and maybe it's 100 years down the line, and maybe it's 1,000 years down the line. You know, we're just right at the beginning of another one of these solar cycles in the precession of equinoxes that's allowing us to open up to a greater flow of light energy. You know, set the intentions around with greater creator ability of what we want to evolve into. You know, so there is something really wonderful to living in the moment, but at the same time, we're also seeding our future and energetically clearing and healing the past.
Beautiful.
So, you know, time traveling in all of these directions.
Beautifully said. And that seeding of the future, these are not just words, yeah? Because once you can use your mental faculty and understand the soul's journey and the long-term agenda of the soul, as well as the short-term agenda in a physical body, then you know exactly whatever step that you're taking now might not manifest in this reality, even if you're 150, because you've seeded it and it's only relevant in 300 years' time. And a superb example, which I'm absolutely in awe of, you know, when I did some research, you know, for the book and everything, and actually I came across Alice Bailey, Blavatsky, Steiner, Rudolf Steiner. Those guys have channeled, written their books 100 years ago and more. And the relevancy of it's like, oh my God, that's exactly what you need to hear right now. Those were seeds they pulled in, and they didn't pull them up all the time. Say, oh fuck, why is it not growing? Why is it not growing? That's a reminder for myself, because I'm very good at like, oh, it's not growing. I want it now. I want it now. You can have that understanding when you understand the soul's journey. And once you stop looking for instant gratification, and once we stop looking for outside validation, and begin to trust that what we're doing is okay. If it's fun for you to do this, even if nobody ever watches this show, well done. And that's not attached to the outcome. No expectation, no projection. And this is how we work. We've been doing this show for 3 years. This is hardcore people. We have maybe 10 hardcore people. It's quality versus quantity, as far as I'm concerned, and the realization, the change that we create in the unseen world. Because this is something that's coming through for me a lot since Turkey. Just because you're talking to a person doesn't mean the person understands you. But if you're still talking, there's a reason for it, because all those psychic locomotion, different shards, parts, they are listening. He or she might not get you, but you're actually not talking just to that person. Now, it can be super fucking frustrating. I'll give you that, because, you know, you're not getting the feedback that you think you're getting, but you can perceive the space. As long as you're not getting the wall, keep talking. I know you're not just talking. And there's another level. There's this unentangled observer that just speaks and doesn't have to understand every single word. You're taking, that's illuminal thinking. That's illuminal speaking. You're working. It's almost like, think how light language is calming. There's such a boom about light language because everybody wants to have permission to speak unentangled. Or you can have entangled as well, but to speak in a way that's sort of getting acknowledged as something real, right? Because you get away with saying anything you want. You don't even know what you're saying, but people will still get it. And that is superb. If you can play with light language and have a conversation and even make it up. Because who makes it up? It's like hypnotherapy, Jen, you'll know. It's like, yeah, make it up. And then once you listen to your hypnotherapy session, oh, I said that, really? And whilst you're on the couch, you're just making it up just to please the facilitator. Sorry, I'm not talking about you, Jen, but that was my experience. That's my experience. I was like, oh, fuck, make it up. And I'm like, okay, now I have enough making it up, right? And then I listen to the recording and think, that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, did I say that? That kind of thing. And I wasn't in a trance. It's a bit like if we listen to our shows, which I never do, it's almost like, oh, you've been talking for how long? Let anyone else please get a word in like this show? No. I give permission to everyone to take a shut up.
She was like that the whole trip, guys.
She is who she is.
That's
Why
not-
we love her so.
Take this back because that's why I had to take myself out of the equation many times. And I did. Because I know I could be a intense little fuck. No.
No, she was good. She was good.
Anyway, yeah. So what else have we got? We've got a lot going on here. We talk about psychic locomotion. That's the big thing. We talk about, I know we're all fried a little bit. I'm actually just warming up. You see, this is
Sure.
like, woohoo! Spiritual technology, natural living, advanced civilization. Because, you know, like Jen was saying, Lemuria wasn't advanced. Well, what does it actually mean in the context of living in the 21st century? What is an advanced civilization? So that is something I'd like us to consider for more Zooms to get together. Is there anything that you hone into, which we can then take apart and exponentialize and take to a different level?
I'm probably going to take a step back in the direction that you're headed, but you know, like with the spiritual technology, even simplifying it, our body is technology, and our body tells us when something is true or it's not, or something gives you the heebie-jeebies. Like even when you don't fully have your psychic abilities honed and online, listen to your body, because your body is the technology that's helping to guide you with things. So like when I get prickles on the back of my neck, like I'll listen to that. I pay attention to it.
Very good point. What do you
I
communicate?
love that.
Very
I've
good.
been so caught up, Jen. Like, I want to be a super psychic. I want to have all this advanced visuals, but it's like my body is my psychic prowess, you know? Like, I feel so many things, and like I gotta embrace that and acknowledge it more. That is my psychic power, my body's ability to feel all these subtleties that are around me, you know?
That's right. And I think too that the more you acknowledge that, the sharper your skill grows and the more things do expand. It's like you have to listen to the little things first for the big things to show up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know, we can do this. We've done shows on this. We do this on a daily basis. You just communicate. First of all, you can never be alone. If you ever feel lonely, well, you can't, because you've got a body. You're supposed to be talking to the body and listen to what the body's got to say. And that is, body, what do you want to eat today? What do you want to wear today? Which color? Where do you want to go? And so often get out of that linear kind of construct. Or I've made a decision this morning that I am going on a 10-kilometer walk. The body wanted it. And an hour later, the body says, do you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want it anymore. Like, what? No, we can't, because this is the plan. And that's what we said. And then if we don't do this now, and what are other people going to say that you're not doing it?
But I think you need to be very careful of what is the mind and what is the body.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay,
Absolutely.
because that is where the mind game just, that is where monkey mind just, excels at, is that
Yeah.
you took in the morning the decision that you will go for this 10K walk because it's something that your body somewhere inside said, I want to do that. And then suddenly, there is the sofa and there's the monkey mind and there's that Netflix series and then there's that, yeah, but it's hot outside and no, it's the, okay, no. But that's not the body really, you see.
Yes.
So it's just this really this difference of what is the body and what is the monkey mind in that
Mhm.
sense.
Yes.
Very good
That's
point.
very true.
Very good
That's
point.
remind me. Go, Alfredo. Sorry.
Oh, I'm just saying, yeah, go ahead, Herminia.
No, that's remind me that about the mind that we don't know. Sometimes it's just the program that clicking, because so many people say follow your heart, follow your heart. So what is the heart? Like it's covered with so many crazy things, surrounded them experience and program that we don't know. Maybe in the moment that we are really connected with the frequency of the heart. That's because so many people fall in love because I always follow my heart. That's kind of a disaster. And it's like follow the heart, but we have to be sure that it's really the cleanness of the heart, not just the program in the heart.
I mean,
That's the way.
was it a disaster, or was it leading you into a lesson that needed to be learned?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's why people say follow your heart, because they said your heart never lied to you. However, there's a lot of people that are going the same drama. We go in the same drama, experience the same thing because maybe it's the lesson we didn't learn, or it was not really the heart. It was my desire to do something that was not really the connection with the heart.
So I can add something to this. Make it a bit bigger.
Mm.
Is it the body that includes the heart
Mm-hmm.
and the gut and the mind,
Mm-hmm.
or is it the soul? Because sometimes when we're still in a place where we haven't done any healing, the soul pretends to be the body, or the body pretends to be the soul. And the soul's desire can be quite, my soul's desire is like, okay, move. And I'm like, hey, back off. I still have a body. The body needs to, the soul needs to learn sometimes, even though she's been in so many incarnations, she's like, push. Back off. There needs to be joy. And I think that's the thing. I look at the body. I don't make that distinction from a place of we're going into oneness in terms of we're merging everything now, So I look at the energy. I said, is this energy positive? Not positive. Follow the energy. And sometimes I go out, like Gigi says, no. I'm like, no, I'm going. We're going. We're doing this. This is joyful, right? Because I'm still a human.
Yeah.
And then I go and then I see, and sometimes the body says, okay, cool, let's do this. I'm so glad we did that, right? And sometimes the body's just drag. And then I listen. I say, okay, cool. Do a little round then. Let's not go the whole round. Like follow the energy, and it's subtle. And sometimes it's also when you don't do certain things, and that only is the awareness that comes in afterwards, that you have been required to be somewhere else. And that is often that psychic locomotion that we are not acknowledging all the time. And that's why, for me, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, this is the question game here. Always ask a question. Do you want to go now or later? What else do you want to do? So stay in the question, because the question will open up that bubble that might be closed off.
Yeah.
Push through. And say, okay, but let's ask a question. What else would you like to do? And then maybe it's just, hey, let's have another coffee before you leave, and then we go. It's that subtle.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fun to actually play with that, because also it makes you a more pleasant person to be with other people.
Mhm.
You know, staying in the question. And that's not analysis paralysis and, oh, there's something wrong with me. No. A question open. We don't even want the answer with a question. That's what I learned with Access. I'm so grateful for that. It's like it opens up an awareness that you didn't have.
Yeah, well, I see it from my point of view, like it's most of the time I experience like this some kind of self-defeating program. And I'm very aware of myself, because I'm very commitment when I want to do something or I have to do something. Like, let's say if I have to go for a walk, it take me like a 45-minute, go to my area, go on the hill, and then come back 45 minutes. Because I want to do, I feel like a long time to do it. And I know I have to do a certain thing for some client. I said, no, I cannot go now, but my body feel it. And then I said, if I plan to go later, maybe something coming later that it get in the way that I cannot do it. I said, oh my God, I should go this early when I had the time to do it. You know, so it's like a kind of looking the balance, because it's not like I feel like I want to go for the walk, but you know, it's like a balancing. It's okay for me to go now when I have things to do that I had to respond to other people. You know, it's like in the moments. I know it's important for me to get in contact with nature, because seeing the trees, the animal, that's bring me you know, joy and energize me. However, looking for the balance always.
Herminia, this is a perfect moment where you bring forward your Lemurian chart, because the Lemurian chart doesn't give a shit. It lives in the moment, remember? Bring in the Lemurian chart and you ask that chart, because that's nice. It's fun to play with that too. You know, it's like, so, okay, what would you like to do? What are you perceiving? Because, you know, psychically. And that when we talk about the Lemurian part, then what I'm actually saying is we are acknowledging our psychic capacities. Right? And also remember, it's, you know, we go into the mind, we go into the heart, into the big toe, and in reality, the question is, whose voice is actually playing here?
Oh, let me write it down now, because that's a good one. Because we don't know if it's the soul, is the mind, or is the heart.
Yeah. What if it's none of that? It's not the soul, it's not the mind, it's not the heart. What if it is you being so bloody Lemurian in that moment, being tuned into the narrative, you know, picking up what your neighbor is thinking down the road. Oh my God, and it's got fuck all to do with you. So who does it belong to? That's the tool. That's the question. It's a tool. Who does that belong to? Whenever you feel conflicted, who does that belong? Is this really mine? And often you get, no, it's my mom's, it's my dad's, it's my neighbor's, it's my blah, blah, it's my cat's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So who does, when we go into this place, who does it belong to? Great question. And it could be an unhealed shard, this lifetime, other lifetimes. Or it could be just you being super psychic. And frankly, we are all super psychic here. So we think we still need to switch on the technology, but I have sense, I would like to say that we've already been very switched on. We just haven't acknowledged it yet.
We don't know who we are. Or we forget what we are. Or we forget what we are.
And that's why we're here, to find out.
To remember.
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 It also remind me the cartoon from Walt Disney, Egypt, the Prince of Egypt. Remember my name, you wonder. It's so fascinating how many truths they put in those movies from Walt Disney that we don't pay attention.
I'm sitting here next to my crystal card deck and was just inspired to draw a card for us today. So this was the card that came up. Let's see if I can get it. Hang on. There it is.
Yes.
Okay, so this is obsidian,
All right. I love obsidian.
that has to do with true self-reflection. So obsidian is, I have a big one over there. It's a very shiny black stone, and you can almost like, it's glass, volcanic glass, essentially.
Oh,
And you can look at it and see your reflection.
yeah.
And so this is just what we're talking about right now, right? Reflecting that energy back to ourselves. It's like, what is going on in my body in the moment? What is going on in my mind, my gut, my heart, my reality? And
Mm.
how am I playing with that energy?
Mm.
And that just cracked. Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Click, click,
you
click.
know, I had a feeling to do the same thing Tanya, after you did that one. For some reason, I got some push in my spine in the back.
Here we go. Well, this is good work, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's a
Obsidian.
stretch, like got the stretchy for the back.
And
Yeah,
then, of course, obsidian is volcanic, is
Mhm.
vulcanized
Yes.
stuff. Is that what you said?
I
So-
think
Volcanic
Mhm.
rock. Mhm,
I-
mhm.
you know, I don't know
Oh,
if
but
you, Tanya, there's
fire.
there's one place, I don't remember if it was Mount Shasta or was Oregon, that I went to one of those places that they have the volcanic area that everything is a huge stone and all charred or piece of stone that is from the obsidian.
I know there is a place like that up in Shasta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it was in Shasta then. Couldn't remember it was in close to Oregon, but in Shasta. Yeah, it was in Shasta then. It's a huge place, huge. And
Mhm.
everything that's stone, obsidian.
All obsidian. Yeah. Melanie, who I went to Egypt with, has gone up there a number of times. I actually brought me back obsidian.
Oh,
there.
Love
Yeah.
obsidians.
This
yeah.
obsidian, I'll grab it. Hang on a second.
Also, obsidians is a time traveler stone, really, because, I mean, in the inner earth, they talk about, or, on the way into the inner earth, those,
Mhm.
yeah, beautiful.
So this is silver sheen obsidian, which is from the Yucatan. You can see
Wow.
the silvery sheen
Beautiful.
Mhm.
on it. So it's like a Mayan stone, and they use it for, energy connection, but also for clearing energy attachments.
Mm.
There's a lot, like if you go to the Yucatan, you can find, all things made out of these pyramids, and a lot of knives that are made out of the silver sheen obsidian. But
Wow,
yeah,
it
that's
look
what
like
it looks
it
like, and you can see the reflection of the light.
Yeah, it had looked like it had the eyes inside.
I think you're just seeing the reflection of the light.
Oh,
But then here's like the silvery area here. But if I turn it on this side, it's like just black, like matte black,
mhm.
or
Like a
shiny
pan-
black. Yeah,
like a
like a mirror.
panther color, like a black
Mhm.
panther color.
Mhm, mhm.
It also,
So there's a really cool exercise to work with the energy of obsidian, where you stand outside and you can use like a bucket of water, or you can use salt water if you live near the ocean. The tide is really good for this, or you can use a hose, but you stand somewhere where you can see your shadow, and then you wash your shadow.
Mm.
talked about that, shadow washing. Yeah.
Mm. Okay,
That's an exercise that works with the energy of obsidian.
you hold in your hands and then you just like washing with the shade of the stone.
Yeah, I mean, you could have like a bucket of salt water, or you can use a hose, or you can go to the beach and stand with your shadow, in where the ocean washes in and washes out. And then you take the bucket of salt water and pour it over your shadow.
Mm-hmm. Holding the obsidian in the hands.
You don't need to hold the obsidian.
No? Okay.
Okay. But you can just call in the energy of it.
Okay, that's good.
Shadow washing, yeah.
Mhm.
I think the other thing with obsidian is the tunnels into the inner earth are lined with, some of those tunnels are lined with obsidian, because it impacts on the time It takes out the illusion of Roman numeral time. You just walking a couple of steps are equal to a couple of kilometers, you know, that kind of thing. So use it as a time traveler stone to work with you on your travels.
I have to look in for my ones. I don't know where they are. I brought some from Manchester, really. I have to look for.
Cool, powerful energy.
Fabulous, 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 fabulous.
Right.
Really enjoyed this today. Do we, any closing words, anything pressing?
I wrote
Well,
something cool if you want to hear. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say one thing really quick. So last
Yeah.
night I was listening to a lot of information. And after that I was like, oh, I gotta do something. So I listened to my body and put on music and danced in my kitchen.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, that helped me ground. It helped me ground the information I was hearing and be really back in my body instead of in my head.
That's a very good one.
Dancing, singing, fantastic. Thank you.
When all else fails, just jump around and dance, you know? Or at least for me, you know?
Exactly.
Especially when things are getting crazy, I'm getting too serious. I'm like, whatever, man. Just, I don't even care. You know, just jump around, do whatever, you know? Express yourself.
What did you want to say, Alfredo? You wanted to add
Oh,
something?
yeah, I've been writing a ton lately because I've been having a lot of things that have been inspiring me to write, which I've been losing my inspiration to write for a bit. I was like, you know, I don't want to write no more, but a lot of life events and things have kind of been inspiring me and fueling my inner fire to write. So I wrote something. It's one of the many writings I've done. I wrote this morning. I haven't even edited it. So it's just raw, like on the spot, whatever I wrote.
Like a piece
Kind of just
of
channeled
raw
in.
meat.
Yeah. I came out of this cool ass dream I had last night where I was like jumping off this cliff, like paragliding with somebody else. I don't know who it was, but like we're just flying over the town, over the city, over the market. And I was like talking to my partner's brother, like, you want to go fly? It's like, no, man, I already did that. But I don't know, it was just a cool dream. And always these cool dreams, they inspire me, you know? They inspire me and like I always, yeah, it's a connection, you know? But anyways, I called it, dated June 14th, the truth of my journey up until now. And this is my own internal struggle I've been working on. It may not relate or connect with any of y'all, but it connects with me. And that's the most important thing, like trusting myself and whatever I write in my journey and having more trust in myself instead of over trusting and overvaluing and over putting everybody else on a pedestal that overshadows my own innate gifts and trust in myself, you know? So this is kind of deep. I was crying when I was writing this because it's truth, you know, it's my own struggle, you know? But anyways, the truth of my journey up until now. I have looked up to and respected many others around me for what they possess, be it money, skills, status, partners, abilities, gifts, looks, attention, etc. Whatever. I know I have some myself, but I continue to look up to others despite who I am. On my journey, I know I must do what works best for me, take the help I need, and let go of the excess of information out there, as it's just a storm of distraction, chaos, traffic, etc. I am special that I have so much to offer this world. I just fail to see it or recognize it. It's an aspect I bring forth once again, to acknowledge my greatness, my skills, my abilities, to master my reality in such a way that I am the one calling the shots. I am the creator, magician, and wizard of my reality. Going forth, taking all my teachings and evolving with them in such a way that assists me on my journey to the next level and beyond. Beyond my own self-imposed limitations, judgments, lack of money, or whatever else reason I use to limit myself. I free myself from my teachers to be my own signature frequency teacher. Running is my religion. Breathing is my medicine and self-empowerment. Love is my cure for all the great struggles of my reality. Being compassionate to myself when all else around me is crumbling, distorted, out of control, or out of whack. I remain the eye of the storm no matter what happens, breathing my way on into self-created peace, breathing myself into heart space intelligence, breathing myself into creativity, passion, motivation, and self-liberation from the internal and external energies of distortion that try to influence me in the most subtlest of ways. I love myself and I forgive myself for torturing myself with so many unrealistic expectations I have put upon myself for so many years, making myself seem less than those around me just because I put others on an unrealistic pedestal above me. Working, pacing, trying to be someone else other than myself. I have lost my way so many freaking times. And I forgive myself. I continue to forgive myself and love myself despite all this, you know? I love you so much, Alfredo. You're the man. Don't forget it. You're a beautiful human being in so many ways. You just forget. Can't you see that? Why do you think so many people want to be around you, man? Yeah, you push them away because you're so caught trying to be the super psychic that can do all these magical things. You're already magical, bro. Why do you think the animals cross your path to remind you of the beauty you have within? You torture yourself. You just become your own worst enemy, bro, with all these high expectations you put upon yourself. Ain't nobody in this world is perfect, not even you. And that's all right. It's okay. Just keep on breathing, man. Just keep on doing your thing. Just keep on being true, authentic, bold, wild, expressive Alfredo. That's what the world needs, man. Just being you is a service to Mother Earth. She just wants you to be you, man. Your uniqueness, your song, your way of being is the gift you seek, yet you lose yourself along the way. And it's all right, man. We're all going through this. We're all born in this crazy world of influences in the most obvious and yet subtlest of ways. You'll figure it out, man, bit by bit, moment to moment, interaction to interaction. Just when you think you've lost your sanity and you feel like you're the reason things have gone so crazy and wild, just in a single synchronistic rendezvous with another beautiful being can remind you in a simple conversation that could be worth more than $1 million to remind you of the beauty within you, man. Thank you, great mysterious world, for all these trials and tribulations and teachings that I've gone through on my journey. The hurt, the betrayal, the struggles, the mistakes, the self-ridicule and self-judgment. All a great reminder. Remember the key ingredient of it all. Love. Infinite love for myself and others, no matter what the F happens. I keep moving forward. On the days I'm tired and worn out, maybe not even doing anything at all, or moving anywhere at all, because I'm burned out. Just doing what I feel is best in the moment. Whatever that choice or decision is, it's all a great teacher, man, to myself and to others, as we all learn to embrace ourselves even more. I move forward not with regret, but appreciation for everything that has taught me so much in these divine moments of self-reflection. I'm here to live, man. I'm here to enjoy my journey whatever way I choose. Things may change, people, places, things, even myself, as nothing is meant to stay the same in this reality. It's always changing, man. It's always in a constant state of flux and flow, rises of the tides. All the energetic movement that is life. I am Alfredo Torres, a master creator of my reality, a breathing zealot, a running fox of the woods, a god of the sun and a child of the earth. Knowing everything I say, think, and do creates ripples upon the reality seen and unseen, known and unknown. It's all a part of this paradox reality, the cosmic joke. As the great Joker said himself from Batman, why so serious? For real, man. Why you take life so seriously? I make peace with where I am. I make peace with what is. I make peace with anything and everything throughout the entire omniverse. So I continue to love myself and love others with this radiant, luminous heart as my guide throughout the infinite journey and beyond. I kind of fumbled that last part, but whatever. Aho. That's it.
Aho!
Oh, you are the best.
Oh,
Bravo, bravo. Wow, wonderful.
Thank you.
Wow. There's a
Everybody
singing,
inspires me. Oh, go ahead,
Alfredo,
Herminia.
that is a singing in Matrix that when the guy responds so proud, yes, I'm 100% born natural mean. I should say that thing like that. Proud of being just born. That's wonderful.
He's our Earth Nouveau God.
I just feel like we got to be us, you know, be us on our journey. It doesn't matter what happens, whatever shenanigans we get into, just got to be being ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to express. Because I know maybe other people might be in a similar place I am, or maybe above what I'm at, or below, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all on an equal playing field here, you know. No one's greater, no one's less. We're all equal in this field, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I feel about things nowadays, you know.
You know, only you can be you. So
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing a great job doing exactly that.
Good way to close it out today on 11/11.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for concluding. It's almost like it's not concluding, it's completing it.
Completed.
Completing it. Thank you guys for your contribution.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for Sandrine for joining us, and I hope you'll be back at some stage.
Thank you for the nice.
And the recording's gonna go out.
My secretary has cleared my schedule for 3 o'clock in Wednesday afternoon. So
Yay! To the secretaries out there.
but I might not only because I'm working, so I might not only always be available until the end, but okay. Thank you. Thank you also for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice.
Yes, guys. See you soon, huh? Bye.
Looking to see you. Bye.
Bye.